As of today, we are 4 months out from Election Day and just 2 months from the first vote by mail ballots going out. The question is, will Joe Biden be on those ballots? By the end of the weekend, we could have an answer. As we speak, President Biden is on his way to Madison, Wisconsin for a campaign rally. He is also going to sit down there with ABC's George Stephanopoulos for his first on-camera interview since the debate. It will be, fair to say, the most important interview of his very long career, because if he's going to stay in the race, he must convince voters, donors, and Democratic lawmakers that he can handle not just the next 4 months, but the next 4 years. The campaign says, of course he can, and he does not sound like a man about to bow out of the race.
You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere.
CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins us now live from the White House. Priscilla, what are you hearing?
Well, Dana, in some ways, this is the cleanup tour really starting in earnest, with the president going to Wisconsin today to talk to voters and also participating in that prime time interview. Campaign officials that I have been talking to say, look, we acknowledge this is a high stakes moment for the president, but they're also aware that the president is sometimes prone to those verbal missteps. And so this isn't just about the substance of what the president says during this interview, but also how he delivers it. And then, of course, the president will go to Pennsylvania on Sunday. Now, we are now learning from the campaign that his original event in Pennsylvania to speak with the National Education Association will not occur because of an employee strike. And the campaign says he will not cross the picket line, but he will still have stops in that battleground state. But look, all of this is to say that over the last week, a very challenging week for the Biden campaign, allies have repeatedly said they want to see more candid moments from the president, more unscripted moments, and they're hoping that that is what he can display over the next few days. So this July campaign memo that was released today, in some ways, is them saying, we hear you. In addition to all of these stops, the president also expected to go to Nevada in mid-July to attend 2 conferences where he'll speak directly to Black and Latino voters. It also includes a $50 million paid blitz. So the campaign is certainly trying to build up momentum, especially as they face pressing questions about the president and whether he is the most viable candidate going up against former President Donald Trump in this very heated election season. I will note, because you played the soundbite there earlier of the president at the barbecue just yesterday here at the White House, that while the president observed the fireworks from the White House balcony, he was joined by Vice President Kamala Harris. She has not been there before for that presentation. In the past, she often engages in other July 4th firework engagements. So this was an opportunity to show unity at a time when they are both coming under increased scrutiny.
Let's discuss with White House reporter for Politico, Eli Stokols. Eli, great to see you. This speech in Milwaukee, this primetime interview, if they go well, will it be enough to unravel this narrative surrounding the president's age and mental acuity?
It's a great question, Boris. That's really the question. And I'm not sure they will be. I think people inside the president's inner circle, they've listened, they've heard that there are things that he needs to do to reassure people, and they are trying to do that. A sit-down interview, travel, more unscripted moments. But, you know, at the same time, there is a palpable sense that none of it is really going to offset what the country saw on the debate stage last week, and that the president really took his big liability and made it even bigger, adding to concerns about his age and apparent frailty, and really imperiling his reelection bid. I mean, his campaign is teetering on a razor's edge right now. And even if he gives a decent interview, shows some pep, some vigor, some commitment, there are already, as Isaac spoke to a little while ago, a lot of talks in Democratic circles about what Plan B is going to look like. There are a lot of members on Capitol Hill, dozens in fact, who are already privately of the mind that the Democratic Party needs a new presidential nominee. They haven't said that. Most of them have held back those comments publicly. But that is the conversation behind the scenes inside the White House, inside the campaign. There are some aides who, despite putting their head down, trying to do the work, expressing sort of a determination and resolve to go forward. There are a lot of aides who understand that this may not be fixable. And so, yes, all eyes are going to be on what the president says today in Wisconsin and in this interview, how he looks, how he sounds. But it may not be enough to allay the anxieties that a lot of people have across the party, that the president's biggest liability is just not something that can be fixed, and politically speaking, that it may already be fatal.
Joining us now is Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Larry, always good to have you on. You sit down with a lot of voters through the years in this cycle and many others, and you do a lot of data gathering. I wonder, what would you define as a success tonight? What does Biden need to do to change the dynamic right now?
I don't think he can change the dynamic with one interview. I suppose you'd say stop the bleeding. And the bleeding has been bad, Jim. I mean, we've been looking at all the data coming in, all the surveys, some public, some private, and it's bad. And Democrats need to understand that. Things are not stable, and it is no longer close. The race between Biden and Trump is no longer close.
That's bad. And by the way, CNN's reporting earlier in the week was that if Biden's team saw polls plummeting, that would factor into the decision to leave the campaign. You're describing polls plummeting, right? Not a minor move here, it seems.
Well, just take the 4 last week, including CNN's poll. All of them were in agreement, which you rarely see, even with well-conducted polls. Biden, who was really maybe 2 points behind Trump, is now, at least in unison in these polls, 6 points behind. That's millions and millions of voters. And what is it that's going to restore them? A good interview? A good rally? Come on.
Yeah, I hear you. It's early in terms of judging the support of potential replacements for Biden. CNN, of course, had a poll earlier which showed that the Vice President Kamala Harris was among the closest to Trump in a head-to-head. But you do a lot of polling. Is there enough polling to give a credible steer as to who might be the best or the strongest Democratic replacement?
Not yet, because many of the alternates to Kamala Harris, who's the natural successor of being vice president, but there are a lot of, the Democratic Party is bursting with talent, particularly in their gubernatorial ranks, but they're not well known outside their state. So you're comparing apples and oranges here. The vice president is well known. Many of these governors, people have a glimmer of who they are, but they don't have any strong opinion on them. So it would be a matter of doing what some have suggested, having 3, 4, 5 debates in various places around the country, getting them better known, and then we'd have an idea of where they stood relative to one another.
And that would require, of course, a decision by this president. First of all, a decision to leave the race. Not clear that we're there yet, but then also a decision not to deliberately say Vice President Kamala Harris is the person I'm going to throw my delegates behind. Last hour, I spoke to Brian Stelter, CNN's former chief media correspondent, of course, still covers media quite closely. Here's what he had to say about the debate tonight.
Astoundingly, Jim, the White House is almost portraying this interview as a cognitive test, like it's some sort of televised doctor's appointment. The White House and the Biden campaign have raised the stakes for this interview as if it was not already important enough. So it is both the most important interview of the interviewer's career, Stephanopoulos, but most importantly for Biden. As you said, his presidency is on the line here.
I mean, the trouble is, right, it's not a cognitive test. It's an interview. And it's to your point, seems your view is that by itself is not going to change voters' impressions here.
That's correct. And every day is going to be another cognitive test for Biden. That's the burden of it. Look at what happened yesterday, Jim. This didn't get as much coverage as it might have, but every speech that Biden gave, whether it was at a rally or for the July 4th ceremonies, it was picked apart. And every time he had a slip of the lip, which we all do, but every time he had a slip of the lip, it was analyzed and maybe overanalyzed. That's what he can expect between now and forever.